You wake up, but you can't move.
Ever woken up and realized you couldn't move? Like your body just completely shut down on you? Not even a finger. Not even your voice. But your eyes? Oh yeah, those still work. So you're just laying there, staring into the dark, fully aware, while something might be staring back at you. If you've ever experienced that, even once, you already know how messed up it feels. And if you haven't, just wait. Because tonight, you're about to step into 5 real experiences that might change the way you look at sleep forever. This first one happened to a college student during one of the most stressful times of his life. Finals week. No sleep. Too much caffeine. Brain running on fumes. He said it started like any other night. He had been up late, grinding through biology notes, trying to cram everything in before his last exam. At some point, exhaustion hit him like a truck. He didn't even remember falling asleep. One minute he was staring at his notes. Next thing he knew, everything went black. Then suddenly, he was back in his room. At least, that's what it felt like. He was lying in his bed, staring at the ceiling. But something was off. The air felt heavy. His body felt weak, like gravity had doubled or something. He tried to move his arm. Nothing. Tried to shift his legs. Nothing again. That's when it hit him. He couldn't move at all. Panic started creeping in, slow at first, then all at once. His breathing got shallow. His heart started pounding. He tried to call out for help, but his voice wouldn't come out. It was like his entire body had just locked him inside. The only thing he could move were his eyes. So he started scanning the room. Everything looked normal. His desk. His chair. The door slightly cracked open. Just his regular room. But it didn't feel normal. It felt wrong. Like something didn't belong there. He turned his gaze toward the corner of the room. Nothing. Then slowly, he looked back toward the center. And that's when he saw her. A woman. Standing perfectly still. Right in the middle of his room. His heart dropped instantly. She was facing him. Not moving. Not making a sound. Just standing there like she had been waiting. She wore a long black dress that seemed to blend into the darkness around her. Her hands were down at her sides, holding something, but he couldn't make out what it was. He tried to scream. Nothing came out. He tried to force his body to move, to do anything, but it was like being trapped inside a statue. And then, she started walking toward him. Slow. Calm. No hesitation. Each step felt louder than it should have been, even though the room was completely silent. His eyes were locked on her, unable to look away. The closer she got, the more real she felt. This wasn't like a dream. This felt physical. She reached the side of his bed. Then she slowly knelt down. Now she was right there, inches away from him. And that's when she raised her hand and gently placed it on his forehead. He could feel it. That's what messed him up the most. He could actually feel her touch. Cold. Real. Unmistakable. She leaned in closer until they were eye to eye. And that's when everything inside him completely shattered. Because it wasn't just some random woman anymore. It was his mom. Her face. Her eyes. Everything. He tried again to say it, Mom, but his voice still wouldn't work. His chest felt tight. His mind was racing. This didn't make sense. This couldn't be happening. She just stared at him. No expression. No words. Then slowly, she stood back up, turned around, and walked toward the doorway. And just like that, she was gone. The room fell silent again. He was still stuck. Still frozen. Still trying to process what just happened. Seconds felt like minutes. His mind kept replaying it over and over. Then suddenly, his body unlocked. Like a switch flipped. He gasped, sat straight up, and jumped out of bed. "Mom!" he yelled over and over, running out into the hallway. His heart was racing like crazy. Adrenaline was kicking hard. He ran toward the other rooms, calling her name louder each time. A door opened. Someone stepped out and grabbed him. But it wasn't his mom. It was his dad. And the look on his face said everything. Confusion. Pain. Something deeper. His dad hugged him tight and said something that made everything hit all at once. "I miss her too." That's when reality came crashing down on him. His mom had passed away 3 weeks earlier. What he saw, what he felt, that wasn't supposed to be possible. To this day, he still doesn't know if it was just sleep paralysis or something way more personal. But one thing's for sure. It didn't feel like a dream. It felt like a visit. And honestly, that might be even scarier. Because if your mind can create something that real, or if something else can reach you when you're stuck between sleep and reality, then what else could be waiting for you in that state? And trust me, this next story, it takes that question to a whole different level. Because what happened next didn't just stand in the room. It was watching from somewhere much closer. You ever have one of those dreams that feels way too real? Like your brain forgot to tell you it's just a dream? Yeah, this next one starts like that. But it doesn't end there. Not even close. This happened to a guy in his mid-20s. No history of sleep issues. No crazy paranormal beliefs. Just a regular dude who went to bed one night and ended up questioning everything after. He said the night started normal. He fell asleep pretty quick, nothing unusual. But then he found himself in a dream, standing in the middle of the woods. It was dark. Not pitch black, but that dim bluish darkness where you can still make out shapes. Trees everywhere. Tall, silent, unmoving. And then that feeling hit. You know the one. Like you're not alone. He couldn't explain it, but something was off. His instincts were screaming at him to move. To run. To get out of there. But he didn't even know where out was. Then he heard it. A sound. Not footsteps. Not breathing. Something else. Something mechanical. But also alive. That's the only way he could describe it. It was like a low, distorted humming mixed with something organic. Like metal trying to breathe. It didn't make sense, but it didn't need to. Because it was getting closer. Every few seconds, it repeated. Louder each time. Closer each time. His heart started pounding. His body tensed up. He turned around, trying to see where it was coming from, but the trees just stood there like silent witnesses. Then suddenly, everything blurred. The forest faded. And just like that, he was back in his bed. Except, he couldn't move. Not even a little. His eyes opened wide as panic hit instantly. That same heaviness. That same locked-in feeling. He knew right away something wasn't right. And then, he heard it again. That same sound. That weird, robotic, alive kind of noise. Only this time, it wasn't in a dream. It was in his room. Soft at first. Almost distant. But then it repeated. Every 3 seconds. A little louder. A little closer. His breathing got shallow. His chest felt tight. He tried to move, nothing. Tried to speak, nothing again. He was stuck. Completely. Helplessly. Stuck. His eyes darted around the room, trying to figure out where the sound was coming from. The walls. The ceiling. The door. Then his gaze landed on something that instantly made his stomach drop. The closet. More specifically, the closet door. It was slightly open. Just a crack. And he knew for a fact he never left it like that. Ever. The sound played again. Louder now. Closer. His eyes locked onto that crack like he couldn't look away even if he wanted to. Then, something moved. Right there. Between that small opening. At first, it was just darkness shifting. Then slowly, a face. Peeking through. His entire body went cold. It wasn't normal. Not even close. The face was stretched. Distorted. like it didn't belong to anything human. The mouth was wide open, too wide, forming this unnatural grin that made no sense. And the eyes, they weren't blinking. They were just staring directly at him. The sound played again, and with it, the face moved closer. Not just the face, the whole closet. It was like the room itself was bending, warping, pulling that thing toward him. Every time that noise repeated, it felt like the distance between them got shorter. His heart was slamming against his chest. He tried to scream, but his throat wouldn't cooperate. Not even a whisper. The sound again. Closer. The face now clearer. That smile stretching wider. The sound again. Loud. And then, slam. The closet door shut. Hard. The sound stopped instantly. Silence. Pure silence. For a second, he just lay there, frozen in that same position, trying to process what just happened. His ears were ringing. His heart still racing. Then suddenly, he could move. Like nothing had ever happened. He shot up from his bed, breathing heavy, sweat all over his body. His hands were shaking as he stared at the closet. It was closed. Completely. Just like it always was. But he wasn't buying it. Not after what he just saw. Even though he was a grown man, even though he knew how crazy it sounded, he got out of bed and went straight to his parents' room. Knocked hard. His dad opened the door, half asleep, confused. He didn't even try to play it cool. "I need you to check my closet." His dad paused for a second, then nodded. They walked back together. Every step felt heavier than the last. His eyes stayed locked on that door like it might move again at any second. His dad reached out, grabbed the handle, and opened it. Nothing. Just clothes. Shoes. Boxes. Normal. Completely normal. His dad looked back at him and said something simple. Sleep paralysis. Turns out, his dad had experienced it once before too. But here's the thing. Knowing what it is doesn't make it any less terrifying. Because when you're in that moment, you don't feel like you're dreaming. You feel like you're awake. And something else is there with you. Watching. Waiting. And sometimes, getting closer. And if you think that's bad, the next one? Yeah, this one doesn't stay in the closet. It gets way more personal. Some people say the worst part of sleep paralysis isn't what you see, it's what you feel. That heavy, suffocating presence. Like something evil is right there with you, but you can't prove it, can't fight it, can't even move. This next one? Yeah, it takes that feeling to a whole different level. This happened years ago to someone who had never even heard of sleep paralysis before. No warnings. No expectations. Just one night that completely messed with their head. They said it started in the middle of the night. No dream. No build-up. Just awareness. Their eyes opened, staring straight at the ceiling. The room was dark, quiet, normal. Except, they couldn't move. At all. At first, they thought maybe their body was just stiff from sleeping weird. You know how sometimes your arm falls asleep or whatever? Yeah, this wasn't that. This was full body shutdown. They tried to lift their head, nothing. Tried to move their hands, nothing again. That's when the panic started creeping in. But something else came with it. A feeling. And not just fear. This was deeper. Darker. Like there was something in the room that didn't belong there. And somehow, they knew exactly where it was. The closet. They couldn't explain how they knew. They just felt it. Like their instincts were locked onto that one spot, screaming at them without making a sound. There's something in there. But here's where it gets weird. Every time they tried to actually look at the closet, their head turned away. Not by choice. It just moved. Like something was forcing them not to see it. They tried again. Focused hard. Pushed every ounce of willpower into turning their head toward that door. For a split second. They almost made it. But then, their heads snapped away again. Like a magnet repelling. That's when the fear turned into something worse. Because now it wasn't just something's there. It was, something doesn't want me to see it. The room stayed silent. But then, they felt it. Not heard. Felt. A low, sickening vibration in the air. Like laughter, but not normal laughter. This was twisted, heavy, like it was echoing inside their chest instead of their ears. Wave after wave of it washed over them, each one making their skin crawl even more. Their breathing got shaky. Their heart was racing. They tried to scream, but like every other story, you already know how that goes. Nothing. Just silence. Then suddenly, something moved. Fast. Out of the closet. They didn't even see it clearly. Just a blur. And before they could process anything, it threw something at them. Hard. It landed directly on their chest. The weight hit them instantly. And when they looked down, that's when everything broke. It was a human head. A girl's head. Face up. Eyes open. Staring straight at them. And the worst part? They recognized her. It was someone they knew from high school. That's when panic fully took over. Their bodies still wouldn't move, but now they were fighting it with everything they had. Their muscles tensed. Their chest tightened. They tried to shake it off, tried to roll, tried anything. But nothing worked. All they could do was make these low, broken sounds. Like their voice was trapped somewhere deep inside. They tried rocking side to side. Tried forcing their arms to move. But their body wouldn't respond. That head just stayed there. Heavy. Real. Unmoving. The laughter, still echoing. This went on for what felt like forever. But realistically, maybe a minute. Maybe two. Then suddenly, everything stopped. The weight disappeared. The room snapped back to normal. And just like that, they could move again. They shot up instantly, gasping for air, grabbing at their chest like something might still be there. But there was nothing. No head. No presence. No sound. Just their room. Exactly how it always was. But they weren't the same. Not after that. They said for weeks after, every time they woke up, they weren't sure if they were actually awake. They'd just lay there for a second waiting, half expecting something horrible to happen again. That laughter? Yeah, that part stuck with them the most. Not the head. Not the paralysis. The laughter. Because they never actually heard it. But they still felt it. Deep inside. And that's what made it worse. Because if your mind can make you see things, that's one thing. But if it can make you feel something that real, something that intense, then where does that even come from? And honestly, this next story, it's the kind that makes you question whether sleep paralysis is just your brain playing tricks, or something trying to show you what's coming next. Because what happened in this one didn't stay in the dream. Some experiences mess you up in the moment, but then fade away with time. And then there are the ones that come back later and hit even harder. This one? Yeah, this one doesn't just stay in the night. It follows you into real life. This happened to someone who had already dealt with sleep paralysis before. Nothing too crazy, just the usual stuff. Waking up, can't move, waiting it out. But this time, it was different. Way different. He said it happened early in the morning. That weird time when the sun is just starting to come up, but everything still feels half asleep. The room had a faint glow, just enough light to see shapes, but not enough to feel safe. He woke up on his back. And instantly, he knew. That same feeling. That same lock. He tried to move his arms. Nothing. Tried to turn his head. Nothing again. Sleep paralysis. But this time there was something else. Something coming. At first, everything was quiet. Too quiet. Then, he heard it. Footsteps. Heavy ones. Coming from downstairs. Slow. Deliberate. Each step echoing slightly, like the whole house was holding its breath. His heart started pounding. His eyes widened as he stared at the doorway of his room. The footsteps got closer. Step. 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 Then they reached the stairs. And started coming up. Each step creaked under the weight, louder than it should have been. It didn't sound normal. It sounded heavier. Like whoever or whatever was coming up wasn't quite right. His breathing got shallow. He tried to move again, to sit up, to prepare himself, but his body refused. He was stuck. Forced to watch. The footsteps reached the top of the stairs. Then, silence. For a second. And then, they appeared. One by one. First, his brother. Then his sister. Then his dad. And finally, his mom. All four of them. Standing in the doorway. But something was off. Immediately. They looked wrong. Not in their faces. In their size. They were taller. Way taller. At least a foot taller than normal. Their heads nearly brushing the top of the doorframe. And they weren't speaking. They were crying. All of them. Soft at first. Then louder. Not normal crying. This was heavy. Emotional. Almost desperate. It filled the room in a way that made his chest tighten. They slowly walked toward his bed. Step by step. Still crying. Still silent otherwise. He wanted to say something. To ask what was wrong. To tell them to stop because it was freaking him out. But he couldn't. Not a single word. They reached the side of his bed. And just stood there. Towering over him. Looking down. Crying. Their faces twisted with emotion. Tears streaming down. But their eyes? Their eyes felt empty. Like they were looking at him. But also through him. He tried again to move. Nothing. Tried to scream. Nothing. He was completely at their mercy. Seconds passed. Or maybe minutes. Time didn't make sense anymore. Then, just as suddenly as they came in, they stopped. All at once. The crying cut off. Instantly. Silence. They all turned around. In perfect sync. And walked out of the room. Back toward the stairs. Step. 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 Until the sound faded. And just like that, he could move again. He shot up immediately, heart racing, sweat all over his body. What the hell was that? He didn't even think. He jumped out of bed and ran downstairs. Fast. Trying to catch them. Trying to make sense of what he just saw. But when he got there, nothing. No one in the living room. No one in the kitchen. No movement. No sound. Confused, he rushed to their bedrooms. One by one. Checked each room. His brother, fast asleep. His sister, fast asleep. His dad, fast asleep. His mom, fast asleep. Exactly where they should be. Exactly how they should be. Like nothing had happened. He stood there, frozen, trying to process it. His heart still racing. His mind spinning. Because what he saw upstairs, that felt real. Too real. He leaned against the wall, trying to calm down, trying to convince himself it was just another sleep paralysis episode. Just his brain messing with him. That's all. Right. But here's where it gets unsettling. A few days later, he was out with friends, crossing the street. Just a normal day. And then, a car came out of nowhere. Fast. Too fast. Before he could react. Impact. He got hit. Hard. Everything went black. When he woke up, he was in a hospital bed. Body aching. Bones broken. Machines beeping around him. He was out of it, trying to understand what happened. Then he noticed something. People standing around his bed. 4 of them. His brother. His sister. His dad. And his mom. All standing there. Looking down at him. And his mom. She was crying. That same way. That same expression. That same energy. It hit him instantly. That image. That exact scene. He had already seen it. In his room. During that sleep paralysis. Every detail matched. The positions. The emotions. Everything. And in that moment, a chill ran through his entire body. Because now the question wasn't just, what did I see? It was, why did I see it before it happened? He says he's not superstitious. Doesn't believe in signs or predictions. But after that, even he couldn't explain it. Was it just coincidence? A random overlap? Or did something in that in-between state show him a glimpse of what was coming? And if that's even possible, then what else could be waiting for you in that state? Because this last story? Yeah. This one doesn't feel like a warning. It feels like something followed him home. Some things you see, you can brush off. Some things you experience, you can explain. But then there are those moments that stick with you, not because they were just scary, but because they feel connected. Like something followed you. This last story? Yeah, it doesn't start in the bedroom. It starts outside, late at night. This happened back in the summer of 2016. A group of friends were out walking around their neighborhood, just killing time. Nothing serious. Just hanging out, talking, laughing, the usual. At some point, one of them suddenly stopped. Yo, what is that? He pointed toward a house across the street, right near the front yard. There was a bush, and inside it, something was moving. At first, they thought it was just an animal. Maybe a cat, maybe a dog. But as they got closer, it didn't look like that at all. It looked like someone, like a person crouched down, hiding inside the bush. Barely visible, just enough to make out a shape. They all leaned in a little closer, trying to figure it out. And that's when it happened. A sound came from inside the bush. Low. Weird. Unnatural. It wasn't a voice. It wasn't an animal. It was something in between. A distorted, almost mechanical noise, but with this strange, living quality to it. The kind of sound that makes your brain instantly go, nope. And just like that, the whole group backed up. Some of them laughed it off. Others were clearly freaked out. But nobody stuck around long enough to investigate. They just turned around and walked away. Fast. Brushing it off like it was just some random weirdo messing with them. Eventually, everyone went home. Night ended. No big deal. Or at least, that's what they thought. Because later that night, that same guy got into bed. He had been drinking a little, so he passed out pretty quickly. Deep sleep. No dreams that he could remember. Then suddenly, he woke up. Or at least, it felt like he did. His room was dark. Almost pitch black. Just faint outlines of furniture around him. He tried to move. Nothing. Tried again. Still nothing. Sleep paralysis. He already knew what it was at that point. But knowing didn't help. Because then, he heard it. That same sound. The one from the bush. Low. Distorted. That same unnatural mix of mechanical and alive. His heart instantly started racing. No way. It didn't make sense. There was no way that sound should be here. In his room. But it was. Clear as day. It echoed softly at first. Then repeated. A little louder. A little closer. Every few seconds. The exact same pattern as before. His eyes darted around the room, trying to locate it. But everything looked empty. Until he looked straight ahead. At the foot of his bed. And that's when he saw it. Something standing there. Or floating. It was hard to tell. At first, all he could make out was a shape. But then, it moved closer. And the details started coming into focus. It looked like a head. A human head. But completely wrong. Twisted. Grotesque. The skin looked stretched and uneven. The eyes sunken hollow. And the mouth. Wide open. Too wide. Just like it was in that bush. And then it hit him. That was it. That was the same thing they saw earlier. The same presence. The same sound. Except now, it was right in front of him. As it got closer, he realized something even worse. It wasn't just a head. There was a body. But it blended into the darkness. Like it was made of shadow. Or maybe it just didn't fully exist. The sound kept playing. Over and over. Louder. Closer. The thing leaned in. Slowly. Until it was inches away from his face. That horrible sound vibrating through the air. Through him. He tried to scream. Tried to move. Tried anything. But his body was still locked. Completely helpless. And then, just like that, it stopped. The sound cut off. The figure froze. And in the next second, it vanished. Gone. Like it was never there. His body unlocked instantly. He gasped for air, sitting up so fast it almost hurt. His chest was pounding. His whole body shaking. He reached over and slammed on the lamp. Light filled the room. Everything looked normal. Too normal. He jumped out of bed, checking around, looking under the bed, behind the door, everywhere. Nothing. No sign of it. But that didn't matter. Because what he experienced, that felt real. Not dreamlike. Not vague. Real. The next day, he told his parents everything. From the bush, to the sound, to the thing in his room. They listened. Concerned. Confused. Then gave the only explanation they could think of. Sleep paralysis. And yeah, maybe that's what it was. Maybe his brain just took that creepy moment from earlier and turned it into something way worse. But here's the thing. Sleep paralysis doesn't explain everything. Not the timing. Not the details. Not the way it all connects. Because why that exact sound? Why that exact thing? Why bring it from outside? Into his room? And that's what makes these stories so unsettling. It's not just the paralysis. It's not just the fear. It's the feeling that sometimes what you see isn't completely random. That maybe your mind is pulling from somewhere deeper. Or worse, that something might actually reach you when you're stuck between sleep and reality. So next time you wake up in the middle of the night and your body won't move, just remember, you might not be alone. And whatever you see, you won't be able to run or scream or even close your eyes. You'll just have to watch and hope it doesn't get closer. Bottom of form.